Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us tonight for a girl, a guy, and a movie. I'm Janet from Another Planet, and Bruce will be joining us in just a moment. But this movie, I was one who picked it. Bruce had said that he wanted me to pick a actor that we could focus on for like a few weeks on their movies, and we chose this actor, Sean Patrick Flanery, and this was the first movie I thought of because I think it was the very first movie I ever saw him in, and I really enjoyed it. It was a very powerful movie for me. I think the younger you are when you see it, not too young, but the younger version of seeing him as a tortured soul, basically. And most of us feel that way when we're young. We feel like we're awkward, we don't fit in, we don't know if we'll ever find acceptance for who we are, whether it's our looks, or we're too short, we're too tall, we're too skinny, we're too fat, we have pimples, or something else, poor, we don't have the nicest clothes. But this movie to me fits that genre for people to, I don't know, kind of see themselves in the character, I feel, from this movie. But it may not be for everyone. Bruce had never seen it. So him seeing it as an adult is going to be different than me reminiscing as a youngster getting to see it. So we'll find out what he thinks. But I enjoy this movie a lot.
Thank you, Janet, for bringing me to the point where I could be welcome and watch a film that, as a younger man, I probably would have loved this movie. I'm just going to say that, as I am surrounded by thousands of dollars of hobby equipment.
Mm-hmm.
I don't try to recapture my childhood, but I'm trying to enjoy my adulthood in a way that I'm going to be able to function tomorrow without the use of heavy drugs or narcotics. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't include alcohol with that because that's a mild poison majority of the time, unless you're Bono or Bonham, excuse me, not Bono. Bono was a shitty pilot like John Denver. Anyway,
Yeah.
I want to say thank you for that, and appreciate you starting our stream off tonight so eloquently. Sick Nation 31 Kings, first in the chat, says this is an interesting show. Me thanks. We've got a few parallels to other cinema literature with tonight's film.
Yeah.
A few extras.
Definitely.
And our friend, the Crafting Gamer. Hey, how you doing, Josh?
Hello.
Excuse me,
Thank you
David.
for joining us.
Crafting
Really
Gamer,
appreciate it.
David. And Six Nation is Joshua. And Lady will probably be in here soon, but he's busy as hell. I've seen his workload. I'll just say that. I don't feel like he's on vacation anytime soon. People are checking their soup. Gonna cut the YouTube algorithm. Yes, I should have. I should have streamed to Rumble. I failed that tonight. We'll get the Rumble algorithm set up here once we end the stream, and appreciate you people on Rumble that watch us in the after.
Yeah, I don't know how to do Rumble yet. I don't know how to link it to what I'm doing right now. I have no idea how to do it. I haven't figured that out, but hopefully we will.
We'll get you on it. It's just a few more. It's like 4 more clicks.
Well, it has a lot of places to put stuff, but I just don't know for sure what to put in the places. But that's okay. I mean, I'll figure it out. I mean, it's not like it's gonna go anywhere without me. You know what I mean? Exactly. So I'm not gonna worry that much about it. But yeah, this movie to me, when I first saw it, it was very emotional because the opening scene where you see a woman being put in an ambulance or being taken out of an ambulance once it gets to the emergency room, and you see that she's pregnant. And then you see the doctor come in later down the hallway to the father, the husband or whatever, and tell him that his wife didn't make it for whatever trauma. We don't know for sure, but we knew it was something bad. But we knew it wasn't like a car accident or something, because she was injured and he was not. And she wasn't covered with blood or anything like that. So we have to assume that it's something, we just don't know what. So when he finds out, he wants to see the baby because the baby survived. They said the baby lived. And as soon as he walks in and the baby starts crying, I started crying again, because it's just heartbreaking, the thought of somebody dying and not ever getting to hold their baby, and the baby not being able to be held by their parent is, to me, is an emotional thing. I think most women would probably feel that way. I don't know. But the thing is, and fathers, I think, it's important for fathers to get to hold their baby too. And the fact that he didn't want to accept his child simply because he was different. It's supposedly he was born an albino. And if he affected, like electronics and things like that, but they didn't put two and two together until as he grew older. But what did you think of that one scene, Bruce?
I kind of had my heart break at it a little bit. I wasn't as traumatized as others that view it. The only time you find Bruce crying is whenever, like, maybe yesterday during a stream with my friend Makani. We're talking about his grandmother. She just passed 2 months after her husband passed, of 65 seasons, 65 winters. And, that just like, ugh. And that just got me thinking about things that I don't want to really think about, but, they're just kind of unresolved. And this movie does a really good job of that, of showing you how people leave their wounds open, and they try to walk away from, like, this cancer they've started. And it really kind of boils into a few different things. But this movie could be, I could have rated it a lot higher for it being a as inspirational or as potentially good as this movie is. It's got some flaws. It really does. The guy that directed it, I'm not going to talk much about him. There was discussion Discord chat last night. If you guys aren't in Discord chat,
yeah, well, we can talk about that stuff after we talk about the movie.
Yeah. We were talking about things like this guy's status, like his criminal status. He's a special type of criminal that YouTube tries to empower, stunning, brave, and they try to, like, sweep that's not bad. That's normal. It's normal to appreciate a younger person. And I'm like, no. And the Discord chat we had last night was so good, because, like, I didn't say much. It just, like, it was kind of this unanimous chorus coming from, like, I'm not trying to build an echo chamber, but people that have common sense, pay bills for a living, and go to work, other scheduled times. They have obligations, they have responsibilities. They look at this guy and are like, you could have been so much better, but this is just, I can't overlook it. I can't. And it doesn't drag the score down at all. Don't think that I'm going to knock the movie because of what the director did in his off time on a previous project, but that has to be brought into play, because when this movie was released, that's the reason why I didn't go see it. And this guy, there was a movie, I think it was Clown Shoes or something, and the previous actor was like 12 years old, and Clown House is what it was. Nathan Forrest Winters. And he protested the film's theatrical release. And I was going to go see this movie with friends of mine. And instead, like, I see on Entertainment Tonight this garbage story going on. And I'm like, oh, there goes that idea. So, because in my family, like if you tell mom or you tell your grandfather, like, hey, I'm gonna go watch this Jane Fonda movie, they're gonna club you over the head. And when you wake up with an owie, they're gonna be like, listen, idiot, she's a communist and we don't abide by communists. We don't give communists money. And anybody that kind of treats kids in the same fashion as what ISIS treats its goats, we don't give them money either. So I wouldn't have gotten very far if I said, "Hey, I'm going to go see Powder." Mom and Dad would have like clubbed me, and I would have woke up later. But this is a film that when you separate that from what happened on this movie, in this movie, and on script and translates to film, there's some really good things in it.
Well, the thing is that you had asked me to pick some movies that I would want to watch with Sean Patrick Flanery. So this was the first movie I ever watched. So that's why I decided to do it first, because kind of did it like in a sequence of where I thought we should go with it. The thing is that he's a very eclectic actor already. He picks things, I feel, more on what he enjoys to make, more than just picking something to become a big star. Like a lot of stars who want to do, all they want is a blockbuster. They don't give a shit about the script as long as it's big. That's all they care about.
Correct.
But Sean Patrick Flanery is not like that. He's a feeling artist. That's what I call them. The ones that pick movies due to their feelings. Like he's into jiu-jitsu. Okay, and he likes to teach it himself, but he's very into it. I think he's a black belt in it. It's like 4 or 5th level or whatever. Pretty good at it, and he enjoys it. And I think he does it for his own sanity, to help him deal with things that are on in his life. So to me, the thought that this was one of his first major films he was ever in, and he does such a good job at portraying a character that spends a lot of time by themselves. Like when you see him sitting in the room, he sits alone and he has his knee up, and he's holding his leg in a motion. Like you could tell he really researched people that live a separate lives from other people, like children with autism or different spectrums, So even at a young man, as a young age, I can't even remember what age he was. He was a teenager, though, I think, when he made this movie. But the thing is that he just seemed like he put himself into the character, even though it was a far-fetched character because, he was playing an albino. And today you can't do that. Okay, today the wokeism. Here, I wrote something down. Let me pull it up real quick.
I'm sorry, I'm not trying not to laugh, but
it's all right. Hold on, I pulled this up. Let's see, where is it? Hold on, I'm trying to do it. Find out where it is real quick. Okay, here it is. This is what I wrote about the director. Okay, his direction was careless when he picked we let the makeup on Patrick Flanery not be, perfection, because they didn't have CGI and stuff like that. And I guess in 1995, enough to make him, because he still had a flesh tone around his eyes and stuff. Okay.
And the fact that he had stubble on his neck.
Okay. So I saw a lot of comments on the original movie about people making fun about the white pancake makeup and different things like that. And then it was way overdone, and it either left you laughing or struggling with looking at the actor. See, I didn't see that. I saw what I felt was an albino man, maybe albino, but whatever reason why he looked that way, we didn't know, because we didn't know what the trauma was that his mother had went through before she died when he was born. But what's sad to me is that people get upset about whether the makeup is applied perfectly to get the audience to see a character in a certain way. Does the production company have to hire a real albino to get you to understand what an albino looks like? Okay. Guess what Hollywood now expects you to only hire a person without an arm to portray a person without an arm, and a person in a wheelchair that's really in a wheelchair. And what should really matter is if the person can act, or our industry has fallen so far that now you really have to be able to, don't even have to act anymore. All they care about is whether you're really black, you're really Hispanic, really albino, really tall, really short, really fat, missing a leg, missing an arm. They've made it, people have nitpicked every single thing to where the woke part of it has taken away the ability for an actor to act like what happened in Forrest Gump when the actor had no legs, right? The character had no legs. But now today, guess what? You can't hire someone who has legs to portray someone who has no legs. See, we've bitched and moaned so much about things we didn't like about a movie that now that's all you can get. So now they won't hire anyone unless they are gay or lesbian or whatever it is, whatever the role calls for. So guess what? That limits you to this, or who can play that part.
Janet, you
Alan
misunderstand.
Rickman can't get a part, playing a part now, if he was still alive, as playing a certain thing, even though I know I can tell you right now, Alan Rickman could have done any of these parts. Any part that he was put into, because he's that good.
Money.
You see what I mean?
The ESG money, Janet, that's what is important. If you don't have the proper representation, then it's all going to fall apart. If you don't have the proper representation, it all falls apart. All the money will then go to people who are best.
That ruins the future for movies to me. When you can't let an actor be an actor,
diversity, equity, and inclusion.
Because it has to be perfect, then it's not going to be perfect. But when you read a book, like we talked about the other night, when you read a book, your imagination puts all the pieces together for you. So you see a picture that's put together in your mind from what you've read, right? And it's either going to be glorious, because your imagination is really good and can be colorful, and you can put smells in there and textures, and you can imagine what it feels like to feel the rough, bumpy skin of an alligator or a crocodile, or soft feathers of a certain type of bird or a furry animal. But that's up to us to do that when you read a book. So when a director and the producers get a script and they're putting it together to make a movie for you to see, they're doing the best they can to take what they see when they read the script and put it on a big screen so you can sit and watch it and see the characters come to life. But if we nitpick every little thing because, that person's accent wasn't right, or like me, I got upset when I found out Hugh Jackman was going to be Wolverine. I was like, Wolverine's not tall and good looking. So I was like, I didn't even want to go see the movie. If it hadn't been for my sister kept saying, go on, go see it. Just give him a chance and see whether or not he can try to portray that character. And guess what? After watching it, I started going, well, he really tried to be Wolverine. Just little things that he did throughout the movie made me want to give him more of a chance because he actually made an effort. And that's exactly how I felt this new time getting to watch Powder as an adult, because I tried to remember these are actors and they're all portraying characters. Mary Steenburgen, which is why I'm wearing what I'm wearing, because I wanted to be dressed as close to her outfit as I could. But her being a teacher of young wayward boys and try to keep them level-headed and as studious as possible to help them achieve a goal of graduating from high school so they could one day have their own lives and maybe not have children that are wayward like they were. So, things like that. And her character was great. I thought she did a really good job as a school marm type of character. And then you had Jeff Goldblum, was a science teacher, and he loved science and he loved the phenomenon of different things about teaching science to other students, to teenagers, high school students. And then you had the sheriff, who had a sickly wife and he had a estranged son. So you had that whole story that develops as the story goes along. And then you had the sheriff deputy that was a total asshole, macho guy, character. He wasn't a asshole all the time. He had his good times, but he liked to pick on people and stuff, because some men and women like to pick on people. That's their personality. They want to show they're better than someone else that they feel is beneath them or whatever. For whatever reason they do it. But I like the aspect that you got to see with all the characters that were brought together, all because of this one young man that his grandfather died and left him alone. Okay, he was alone because he stood out. He couldn't go to school. They wouldn't let him do anything because they were embarrassed because he was an albino. Okay, and he had a few other weird anomalies because of his, we find out later through the movie that his mother was pregnant and she stepped in a puddle and got struck by lightning. And whatever happened to her during the electrical surge affected the baby in her womb, which ended up being Jeremy, which was Powder. And that was his nickname because he was solid white and he had no hair at all on his whole body. He was hairless. Because what was it? The science teacher said he's like electrolysis. That's why no hair would grow on him, because he was electrical impulses constantly throughout his body, which caused the hair not to grow. It's what you use when you do electrolysis to get rid of hairs under your armpits or in your private areas, so that you can wear a bathing suit or whatever and not be seen. So to me, that's what I tried to look at. I tried to look at the story. What's the story supposed to be telling me? And what are the characters trying to tell us? And look at it that way. And then it wasn't until later on that I found out about the director, because I didn't even know who he was. But you guys have already knew who he was and what he had done before you even got to see the movie. And to me, that's sad, because even the people that made this movie didn't know until the movie was almost finished. Okay, so now all the people that put all this work, the crafty and the boom operator, the camera guys and the extras and the prop people and the location manager, all those people that were involved in making this movie and putting it together were all screwed over because the director did something stupid and didn't tell anyone until after they found out, after the movie was almost finished. So basically, they all got screwed. They all got told, "You fuck you. Hope your movie sucks." And how upset were we when we found out that Cutthroat Island was such a good movie, but it got screwed because the people behind the scenes that had nothing to do with actually making the movie, going without a stunt people, without makeup, without CGI, without different things, simply because the movie was already $60 million in debt before they even got to start, right? It's
Okay,
not
hold on. Cutthroat Island, for all its faults, and there are a lot of them. We're all being honest here. But
Yeah.
Cutthroat Island, without the Cutthroat Island situation as it was, there
Mhm.
are a lot of things that would not have happened. As much as I not a big fan of Remy Harlan,
Mhm.
he's not a bad director. He, for his craft, he's pretty good. And the lack of stunt people got Gina Davis to be more of a physical actor than what she had
Mhm.
ever done before. And she's not a spring chicken. She's in her
Mm-mm.
mid 30s or however
Yeah.
old she was at the time. More importantly, she got very into sports after that. It wasn't long after she's doing archery for the fucking Olympic team. Now I know that archery is not something that a lot of people equate to, like, oh my god, it's a triathlete. Look, no, she's doing archery, but the amount of muscle memory that she developed in her shoulders and the hand-eye coordination she fostered at that age that she's at is amazing. She's a
Mhm.
natural. That is God-given talent,
Mhm.
and
Yeah, it
so
pushed everybody into a position to have to take up the slack if they wanted to see their movie fulfilled.
yeah,
And basically, that's what happened with this movie. Towards the, I think it was like only had like a fourth left to make when people started finding out about what had happened with the young star that was in the movie before this one, that the director had molested during the movie or whatever. And when the other people found out about it, there was, they were thinking, well, should we get another director? What should they do? But that has nothing to do with the actors and the other people on sets that are working to finish the film. So that's sad to me that the director cursed everyone in this movie simply because he was a dickhead, and he was a liar and didn't tell anyone, and they got screwed over because they could have started from the very beginning, and it probably would have turned out totally different. You see what I mean? The whole movie. So basically, one person screwed over a whole production because of them being a douchebag. But see, I'm trying not to look at that. That's why I try not to research anything about a movie when I'm going to, talk about it, because I want to base the movie on the movie and the script and the editing, the music, and all the things that go to do with the movie. What a director did before he made the movie, to me, I shouldn't judge a movie on that. But you have to at the end, because you have to blame a director for his faults or whatever, or her faults, depending on who's doing it. But to me, the only thing that affected this movie was his bad judgment and his bad choices in life is what affected the movie, not really so much the actors or anything in it. Now, his tunnel vision to force through the movie to get it out in his way, basically his tunnel vision of this movie in the script did hurt the movie to a degree. Even if he didn't do what he did, which he was convicted of, it still hurt the movie because he had tunnel vision, and he forced the vision of basically showing the story of Sean Patrick's character, okay, and wanting to just force that out. He just wanted to force his view on what this person could do and things in this movie, except for he left out so much more good information that could have came out for character development of the other people in the movie because he was too busy trying to force you to watch this one young man. And that might be why. Maybe he was interested in Sean Patrick Flanery more than we know. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So his whole impact for this movie was forced upon this young man to fulfill the whole movie. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. But see, I wouldn't have known that if I hadn't researched the director after I watched the movie of why he had such tunnel vision. See, that right away, as the movie progressed, the barely touching on the other characters, I don't know. And then also the scene, the bathroom scene where you see him looking at the young man and kind of feeling bad because he knows he'll never look like that because of his skin color, basically. To me, I didn't see it as bad in a way. To me, it seemed like a normal thing that a young teenage boy might feel, because when he looked and he saw the handsome man with the flowing hair, okay, and he's putting water on him and rinsing himself off because he just got through working out, playing basketball and stuff, and seeing his muscles and his nice skin, the color of his skin and the hair coming up on his chest stuff, because he was starting to go through puberty and whatever, and he knew he would never have that. And that broke my heart a little bit, because I really felt bad for him, knowing he would never, ever look that way or have the option to look that way. And then you have the other boys come up, and the one boy pick on him, calling him a fag and stuff like that, or gay or whatever. And to me, that would be something a natural other teenage boys would do. I mean, to me, that was something I've seen many times at school when I was in high school. Kids picking on other kids simply because they wore glasses, or they had pimples, or they were fat or short, like I talked about at the beginning. And to me, that was a natural progression that you would see. But now that I know the background of the director, I kind of see that he might have focused on certain aspects of certain things in the movie for his own enjoyment, instead of actually for the benefit of the movie. I don't know if that makes sense to you either. Does it?
Sense. Makes perfect sense.
Okay. And the scene with Shit, with the science teacher, when the science teacher was just enamored with the boy. Now, the character, which was what was
Okay,
his name again?
that's Jeff Goldblum.
Yeah, Jeff Goldblum. Okay, I didn't get a sense that he felt attracted to the boy at
I
all.
didn't get that either, but it was like initially when he came in and he's got like the enamoredness of him, like he's
Mhm.
like you can detect bullshit, can't
In
you?
awe of him, not
Yeah,
sexually, but in
no,
awe of him, his capabilities of what he could achieve
yeah,
and
and
where he already was in
this
life.
this isn't something we're normal. We're not.
Mhm.
We're not. This is something that he was getting a chance to like be on the ground floor and be able to bear witness to something before like other people got involved and like they would lock this guy up. Thank God for Six Nations 31 Kings. He's in here talking about all I want's a Pepsi. No, that's off of a song called Institutionalized by Suicidal Tendencies from the 90s. One of my favorite songs. You can scream it at 120 decibels and lose your voice and still have a big smile on your face. It's great.
Mhm.
That if things would have progressed with poor little Reed, this movie would have gotten really dark. But he ascended at the end of it, and I spoiler alert, it's 28 years old. Deal with it.
Yeah,
This movie could go a couple ways, and I was hoping it would go differently than what it did.
me too. I
I
was, even though I'd already seen it
I
a
like
couple times. I'd hoped, you always want you want him to be happy,
yes.
because the one scene where he gets his first kiss with a beautiful young redheaded girl that's enamored with him, because not, I don't think it was
Uh,
simply for his weirdness, okay, but I was like that. Okay, I had no problem being friends with the short guy or the tall, skinny guy that everyone else made fun of,
oh my god.
because I didn't ever look at anyone like that. I looked at people if they made me laugh, if they made me laugh, or they were nice to me, or they smiled and they treated me good. That's the person I would want to sit and talk to, because I never had. I don't know. I just never was like the other girls that were like, oh, if he wasn't tall and had big broad shoulders, I'm not even going to talk to him or give him the time of day. I was never like that. I try not to be like that now, because to me, that's shallow. I'm not interested in shallow people. I like real people. I want to have a real conversation. I wouldn't ask your opinion if I really didn't want it. I mean, and sometimes I get my feelings hurt, but I'd rather have that than fake. I don't know if there's not that a lot of people like that. And that is part of my problem with society, is there's so much fake. There's so many. That's why I hate woke. I absolutely can't stand a person trying to cram their point of view down my throat. It's just because I never do that to people. I try never to. I feel like I try not to. I mean, I might. I might, because I never shut up, but I really don't want someone to have to feel like I'm trying to push my opinion on them. I just want people to see where I'm coming from, and understand that I really want to understand their point. But if they don't try to explain it to where a person can understand, then you're not getting your point across. If a person can't leave and say, yeah, that really makes sense, or I never thought of it like that, I wish more people would do that and take the time out of their day to actually listen to another person and try to visualize what it is that they're trying to explain to you. But see, people don't want to sit for 5 minutes and have a conversation. Everything's got to be, you know, right now,
And I,
right now.
and I feel kind of bad because I'm going to tell you, like right now, what I was doing
Mhm.
about 2 minutes ago, I completely blocked out what you were saying, and I was looking for something I could respond with in chat or in a response to you,
Mhm.
and that's like the biggest problem of our modern day, like these miserable panels. I love the panels when you can have a conversation, but there's other times where like, oh shit, I got an idea. Let me get this out before I forget it. And I
Mhm.
feel
I
like
do that too.
when I do that, I feel like I need a handicap parking sticker because like I feel like a retard, and I don't want to be a retard. But whenever you're like, hold on, I have to get my thought out because otherwise, if I don't do it right, then I'm gonna forget it, and it might be funny. And I just
Mhm.
I think that too many of us don't just pump the brakes a bit, listen to what the other people are saying, and it'll be fine.
Mhm.
Everybody gets a chance to talk, as long as, like, everybody's able to agree. We're all going to get a chance to talk, and that includes you, little Timmy, you little foul-mouthed little bastard, because you're going to tell the dirtiest joke of show and tell, and you're going to ruin a teacher's perfect purity record. And
Mhm.
we're gonna have problems because of people like little Timmy. And this movie's not about little Timmy, the little pervert. This movie's about, like, somebody who literally could be like an angel, which it could be, and it couldn't be. I don't care. As a 48-year-old man with typical 48-year-old man problems,
Mhm.
I'm talking like bills, body not behaving the way it should. Why am I not losing weight? I'm doing my exercise, or I'm lumping a lot of stuff at work today, and it makes you, you're doing stuff, and then, like, you see this movie and you're like, I remember what it was like to wake up and just be angry. Because
Mhm.
you're not angry, it's the angst. It's the nobody's hearing what I'm saying. And it was perfect that somebody brought in the chat the institutionalized song, because that kind of sums up a lot of the popular sentiments at the time. We were worried that we weren't going to be heard as Gen X. I was
Mhm.
listening to a friend on his stream today, and he's not making a cry for help, but Bear is taking a break for maybe a week or two. He's not going to be doing streams. He's been doing a lot of shit lately. He's been hanging out with a lot of really cool people, and his streams are fun. But he's stretched. And when I say stretched, I mean, like, a year ago, like, the money made it paycheck to paycheck to buy food, bread, water, butter, flour, whatever.
Mhm.
A year ago, you're not looking at your job saying, "Hey, I'd like to pick up an extra couple hours." A year ago, you're not thinking like, some retard that parks his presidential chauffeur in handicap parking is going to make a misstatement, and North Korea is going to blow us off the face of the planet.
Mhm.
We had that threat, especially
Mhm.
especially since January 2021. You fucking retard. I'm talking about you, Joe. You're a fucking retard. And everybody that voted for you, dead or alive. Anyway, and I know a lot of us have our dead relatives that voted for him. I'm not
Yeah,
calling them retarded
I'm
when they
sure
were
we
alive.
all. Yeah, I think every one of us has at least one relative that voted for him,
Yeah.
either
So,
dead or alive.
and YouTube, if you get butthurt about this, go fuck yourself. I don't give a shit about you. I'm happy that we have an agreement for the most part. And if
Mhm.
you agree with my free speech, that's great. But if you get butthurt and your panties are in a wad, I'm going to fist fuck you with my elbow. To my elbow. Excuse me. With
To
fist?
your elbow.
Yeah, yeah,
That makes more sense.
yeah, yeah. Go all the way. Look at that hairy arm. Anyway, don't have any dangleberries for me, YouTube. Anyway, um, but our buddies are like, a lot of people my age. We were trained by people that went out and did shit.
Hmm.
People that were in our generation, Janet, we were we had the last generation of the greatest generation in the public schools and colleges, and some of
Hmm.
the vets, told us about the things that nobody really wants to talk about. In fact, we can't even talk about Nazis nowadays.
Mm-mm.
In that fucking
Well,
short.
they've used the term so much now that it's watered down the real meaning of what
Yeah,
it meant
yeah.
and
And the
what
thing
they
is,
did.
and as much as there's people out there that are wanting to defend Palestinians, I'm going to tell you that Palestine elected Gaza to, or elected Hamas to run Gaza. So they're
Yes.
okay with what
Yeah.
happened on October 7th. And
Hmm.
there's not a single one of them that would say otherwise. There might be some that are upset, but I don't see caravans moving out of Gaza. I see those people getting captured and used as pawns. And, like,
Hmm.
don't be bombing us. We are peaceful people. Go ahead, Timmy. Tell them how peaceful you are. I don't like the fact that the Hamas and the Jews are attacking each other. I'm here in the middle. Well, yes, Timmy, because I have you in front of me, because you're a stupid idiot. And that's what Palestinians
Well,
do.
it's because they have no other way to get around.
Yeah.
You
I mean,
know.
they hide behind. They put their bombs and shit underneath a hospital or orphanage,
Mhm.
and then, like, oh my god, look at this. And then you have there's a group of people. that are Jewish, that they're kind of financing the entire thing. They're kind of hoping all this shit blows up in our faces. In this reality that we're living in right now, like, I'm pretty okay with the thought of violence. I think it sucks, but like, if I hear one more person say, "You just don't understand," I want to grab you by the throat and throttle you until you turn a fine shade of purple that's on my shelf over there. I don't give a shit. And I didn't give a shit about the Ukraine. And in fact, it's on my bucket list. I'm pissing on Zelensky's grave before I die. I don't give a shit about him. I don't care about Putin either. Don't think I'm taking sides. I'm not. Putin's an ass. Zelensky's just a pawn. He's just Soros but younger, because he's the same fucking person. He's Soros, but look at him. He's Soros's kid, just like fucking what's that faggot up in Canada, Trudeau.
Oh yeah,
Shit. He's Castro's kid, and if you don't think he's Castro's kid,
he looks just like him.
Denying reality. Go on ahead.
He looks just like him.
So I know that my stream will probably be taken down or hidden or whatever, and I don't give a shit. We're recording it. It's going to be put on the Rumble. I hope all of you guys are enjoying this, and I really thank everybody for being here. But this movie came out in that time period of the 90s where many of us were getting out from under our parents' wings, and we were starting to spread our own wings. We were starting to make our own decisions.
Starting to find out or think we thought we were figuring out what life was.
Yeah, and instead
what real life was.
We get handed this pile of shit. And I remember Time magazine talking about how we wanted to protest too, but there was nothing to protest. So we're just protesting to protest. And that was in 97. I remember that because I was receiving the magazine at the time. I was donating to Time magazine at the time. You can go ahead and kick me in the Jimmy. So I'm just, the world that we had, like, somehow we really fucked it up. We were given this golden goose, and it could have laid us the best of eggs. But then you have the 90s fallacies and foibles. We've got all the things that the military industrial complex fucked up. And as much as we want to be heroes, men love the idea of being heroes. We like the idea of being either called to action or asleep in our bed at night, and we hear something, and like all of a sudden that switch gets toggled on, the switch that is, I wish a motherfucker would, and you snap to action and do shit. Now, most of us, all we've done really is just stand in front of our mirror naked with our shotgun or favorite rifle and be like, I can't wait for the moment when I'm in the bathroom and somebody breaks in and I get a chance to be naked and blow someone's head off. I don't know if people really think
men and women emulate their heroes.
Yeah, exactly.
That's something that we all do from when we're a toddler. You look up, okay, and if you're in a room with a bunch of kids and you just watch them, you just watch the kids, like, babysitting, and I'm sure even guys babysit, and you can watch the younger ones that are like 5 to 8, and then you see the teenagers or the 13, 14, 15-year-olds come in. All the little ones run over to the bigger kids, not to the grown-ups, but to the bigger kids. And they all look up to them. They'll sit and listen to what they're saying. If they're watching a video game or whatever, and the older kids are talking to them, the littler ones will sit and listen to them. It's like because they want to emulate them, because they look up to them. It's a natural thing that we all go through. Like the young men on the school bus, they will pick one or two older girls, and they want to be around them because it's their first love or the first time that they have a crush on a girl, things like that. It's usually a girl that's like 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 years older, and that's their first crush. Or it's on their grandma, because they love the grandma's cookies. She makes the best cookies I ever had. Or grandma's fun. She plays cards with me, and then I've seen so many young boys and talked to so many men now that said that they remember when they were young. They said, well, when I grow up, I'm going to marry my grandma. stuff like that. So it's a natural thing that that young men have and young women have. They look up to dad, and then they look up to the boys look up to mom, and they look up to grandma or their uncle, because their uncle was a great hunter or he was a great football player. They all have something, and that we want to be like. So we strive to want to be more like our heroes, and that's one of the reasons why I like this movie, is because this young man was locked away and never had a chance to have a hero. Okay, the only people he knew were his two grandparents, and then after his grandmother died, he only had his grandpa, and he didn't get to have a hug or a snuggle or having, like if you'd sit and you're holding your nephew in your lap and you're reading to him, or reading to the kids in bed, things like that. He never had any of that. And that's, I think, why I connected with him so much, is because I had pity for him right off the bat when I found out he was abandoned in his cradle, basically, right after he was born. And they added the different things to it about how he remembered being abandoned. And then you get to see that because he's hooked up to the heart monitor and stuff. And then when his dad's saying, "That's not my son, that's not my son." And then you see the little dials and switches and stuff moving because the child is getting more and more upset, understanding that his father doesn't want to have anything to do with him. And it's sad, heartbreaking.
So
for me, at least in that scene.
And this movie kind of goes a few different directions on things. Instead of this movie being like a superhero film, which it really could have gone, it could have gone that direction. This could have been Edward Scissorhands 2, but it was Edward Scissorhands from Wish.
Well, remember that show? I only saw like maybe 2 episodes or something. It was The Greatest American Hero or something like that.
William Catt and Connie
Yeah.
Sullivan.
It kind of reminded me a little bit of that type of thing, of where it could have been, the potential of this young man's, powers, and the scene where the sheriff goes and borrows him and tells him about his wife, and he gets to put his hand on the wife's forehead and stuff, and then he holds the sheriff's hand. He puts his hand over his hand so he can feel and listen to his wife because she can't speak, and he's like doing like telepathy with her, and crying and very emotional. Boy, that was a really hard scene for me, and that guy was such a good actor. Oh, I just love he's a good actor.
Lance Henriksen is Lance Henriksen is such a good actor. He could read the phone book, and I'd tune in to hang out. I want to just hear him read the phone book. He's
a little guy. This guy is not very big. He's like Tom Cruise, but something about him seems so big, that you want to look up to him. He's just he's got so much manliness that just oozes from him. Even though he cried through that whole scene, all I saw was a man. I mean, I don't know if that makes any sense at all, but I saw a virile man that loved his wife, and he knew that she was dying, and there was nothing he could do about it. But the fact that he was going to let her go, you know what I mean? He was going to let her leave, knowing he'd never going to see her again. That was just a very dramatic, great scene. And the fact that she was hanging on to try to get her son and her husband and his dad together, a son and father again, before she passed on and stepped over the boundary. I just thought it was just a very, it was just a important scene for that movie, I thought.
I want to also say, before I go further, our friend Joshua.
Oh.
He is gifted a membership out there. You don't have to keep doing that, man. And I appreciate you do that. If I really do.
Sweet.
That's very kind of you, sir. And it happens like every stream. You don't have to keep doing this, but I appreciate you do. But man, I hope I'm worth it. I really like.
You're
I
worth
hope
it.
I hope I'm worth the expenditure of the money. The
You're
token,
worth
the token for me is worth it more than the money. It really is. I owe you a bro hug, and if you drink beer, we'll have a beer or we'll paint figs when we're hanging out together. But yeah, Saint David.
it. Hmm.
Thank you, sir. I think the scene where the boy is there and he's helping out the sheriff with his wife as she's getting ready to cross. I
Hmm.
think that movie. I think this entire film could have just been a short movie, and it would have had exponential. Hey, Grumpy, congratulations, sir. Grumpy gets the new membership gifted tonight by the Crafting
Awesome.
Gamer. Once again, Crafting Gamer from a girl, a guy, and a movie. We thank you so much for this.
Yeah, thank you so much. That's awesome. So happy for you, Bruce.
One of these days, Janet, I'm going to have your address, and I'm just going to send you like either. Well, I would send you flowers, but like I'll just send you a money order instead.
Well, my sister works for UPS, and she's been talking to me about getting a UPS box because that way I can get packages and letters and whatever else. So I'm thinking about going and setting
I
that
would
up this week.
I would love to send you some adult legal stuff, which is called coffee, and I would love to send you some Morning Reaper coffee. I think
Yeah, I would like to try it.
people in my chat would talk to you at 75 words a minute about coffee
Hmm.
because the Morning Reaper is a really good blend of coffee, and they help me out. That actually I appreciate it when you guys get the membership. That's awesome. Thank you. Blackout Coffee also is. I've got a code for them. Step L10. I'll put it in chat here in just a second. But they have teas and they have hot cocoa. Get on their email list. Get on their texts. And when they do a big sale, they're getting ready to pop a sale off on us here. And it's November. Last year they did 60% off. 60% off on all cocoa. So you could have like cocoa for months, and it's a good company. They do a lot. They're very pro Second Amendment. They're very pro First Amendment, but the Second Amendment's there with the First isn't really heard.
Someone asked if they have edibles. Oh, okay, you posted it up there.
No, dude. No. I
No.
appreciate the thought. I guess I should probably see if I can find somebody that likes to paint and be a raging lunatic on the right. And hey, when you have edibles, I'll advert for you. Give me a code so I can give people a checkout code.
Maybe they think you need some edibles.
I don't need edibles. Janet, if I don't wake up and go to bed angry, what will I do tomorrow?
Mm.
I mean, I feel like that wonderful man.
I've never had an edible, so
Neither do I. I'm so happy
never done
without
that.
them. I like coffee. I like caffeine.
Yeah, I like coffee, but I can't drink a lot. But I do like. I love the smell of coffee. I love at least having at least half a cup every day in the morning, at least.
There's a lot of things out there. Like there are people I know that they have pain meds that are a requirement, and I think is the ones I want the pain meds and like the hand ups for pain meds to go to. You don't want Bruce, who I already like gummies. I already like gummy bears. I'm a big fan of the Jolly Rancher hard candy or soft candy Starburst.
Mm-hmm.
Don't give me fucking meds with that. Good God. Are you trying to get me killed? Don't. No, 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 no.
Well, they probably don't taste the same as that type of stuff.
I don't know, because whenever I have my gummy nutraceuticals from CVS, those gummies taste really good. And they like even the multivitamin or the other stuff that's just supposed to be health food, that stuff tastes delicious. And I don't know why it should taste that good, because it makes you, well, it says take 4 as a recommended serving. I'll just do 8 and I'll say I skip tomorrow. But tomorrow you have 12. Anyway, I'm just saying the edibles shouldn't taste that good. and I don't need that. But I know friends, they have nerve damage, they have problems, and they need to have something like that so they can get through the day. And I want those people to get that. Just so happens I married one, and we're working on trying to get some things worked out to where she can function a little better, because she's a diesel tech, which means she plays with big fat truck tires. And when you have nerve damage, it's helpful to play with big fat diesel tires, because if you were playing with little automotive parts like something this size, the nerve damage would cause her to drop stuff all the time. So she plays with big things and big lug nuts, and she tends to keep them in her hands. I know that sounds weird. I'm like, honey, you're trading off like body comfortability for aching back, but you kept all the tools in your hand. Okay, but anyway, me and her, we go round and round on some things, and I think we do it just to irritate each other. I think that's the joy of marriage. What I was saying is that
Yeah.
there's a lot of people I know that when they see a film like this movie has a lot of hope in it. And the scene with the deer, I could have passed. As a lifelong resident, no, excuse me, as a 36-year resident, 31-year resident of Illinois, I despise deer. I hate deer. Like, if a deer was a person and we had a racial epithet for deer, I would get kicked off of every platform screaming that at 95 decibels.
Well, the thing is, they were trying to put something in the movie that they could hunt, okay, and make it realistic. Now, if all these teenage boys went out and they just killed a bunny rabbit, okay, it just would be stupid. And they wouldn't be shooting a bear, because it would take more than one shot to bring down a bear, and somebody would get torn up. Especially if they went over there or running over there to it. So it had to be an animal that was believable, which is in the woods. There's deer in every woods in the United States. So to me, that was basically the only animal basically that you would have. It could have been a wolf, but then you'd have other wolves around because they're in packs. So to me, it was a believable that they shot a deer. Mm-hmm. But the thing is, the scary part about that whole scene was the part where the other boy had the gun on him, on Powder, threatening to hurt him. And that was sad to me, because I hate to say it, but I've seen a situation like that one time in the out in the boonies, and you see that a lot when you're in the country with stuck up snotty cowboys and just the goat ropers or whatever, the other side, the two different factions, whatever. It's so funny when you hear people talking about gangs and stuff in the city. And there's tons of different gangs, because they have their street corner over there, and this guy has this guy or whatever, that type of thing. Or you have the Italian group, and then you have another group of the black group, and then Hispanic group, and all these thugs running around fighting with each other because somebody's wearing something, or going out with one of the girls they don't want them to go out with, whatever the dumb stuff is. To me, it's all stupid. But when you have two sets of cowboys, okay, simply because they're from two different families, it's most likely they have relatives and families in this group, and then you have other ones in that group, and they absolutely hate each other, either because they have a still or they grow weed or whatever it is. Okay, they don't like each other selling in each other's territory, or one of them's dating one of the other one's sister, or some, it's always some stupid shit is what it is. It always boils down to stupid shit, and that's what's so sad about it. And they're running around beating their chest, like, and grunting or whatever. I don't know what it is. To me, it was all macho, stupid stuff. And to pull a gun on someone because you're mad at them, and you feel threatened by them for whatever reason, because they're cuter or they give off a vibe that you don't agree with, or whatever it is, to just turn around and walk away, to me, is the most mature, smart thing to do. But you see so many of them risk killing someone or hurting them so bad that you're going to spend the rest of your life in prison. It's not worth it. It's so stupid. And I was that girl in school. I was the dumb one that was always telling them, Jesus Christ, grow up, get a life. you got a beautiful girlfriend, you got a potential future ahead of you with this good job welding or whatever it is, and you're going to throw it away because this guy looked at you wrong. I mean, it's just dumb. I just see dumbness, and that's one reason why I liked this movie back then, because a lot of the people I was friends with were dum-dums like that. You know, they were walking around grunting, and you know, like I said, I call them knuckle draggers and stuff because to me it was just dumb. It was just stupid, and I was like, and that's why I didn't date anybody. I dated not one person from my school. I had to go out with guys from other schools because these were all my friends. You know, I wasn't going to go out with them. And plus, I looked at them as friends, not potential one day, because I knew enough about them that I knew I was not going to end up with any of these people. You know, I was like, I'm not marrying no Okie from Muskogee and living right here. You know, I'm never leaving. And this is their life. And I was like, I didn't want that. So that ended all that for me. So I was not interested.
I will say that I was a little upset with the trigger discipline as a 48-year-old man watching this movie. I was upset watching that because I'm like, at any moment that finger can slip, and we're short somebody. And if this was like an Alec Baldwin set, like
yeah, that's what I thought the whole time. The whole time I was thinking, oh God, this whole scene could have ended up like that one scene in that movie, that other movie, Rust or whatever it's called. Because there was a lot of guns. I mean, there was a lot of guns pointing at people, and I didn't like that aspect. But it raised my tension. You know what I mean, for the scene. So that when I first watched it, I didn't know that much about how stupid that was, the way they handled it and stuff on set. But I probably wouldn't see that today. Well, you'd think you wouldn't, but I guess I'd be wrong, wouldn't I?
Yeah.
But the thing is, it's really funny how we notice things now as an adult, and then seeing it as a younger person, the difference just, a few years makes on your point of view. You know what I mean? It's amazing how much we change. And you don't even have to move or anything. It's just getting older and seeing things through an adult's eyes that changes your opinion on things. You mature, and it's something that most people go through. But I have met people that are, over 50 that I don't think grew up when it came to the common sense part. But, that's life. You know what I mean? But that scene to me was very intense. And I know why you wouldn't want to do it, because I hunt. Okay. But I hunt to eat. Okay. I eat it. And I fish, I eat the fish I catch, you see. So to me, it's not wasted, and I would still hunt. I've seen animals die getting hit by a car. I've seen people do that kind of shit where they go spotlighting in the middle of the night, and they want to just shoot something, and then they just leave it laying there. To me, I think that's ridiculous, and I didn't like it then, and I still agree with that. But if you're going to take it and skin it and keep it, to me, it's worth it. But I can understand why he was doing it, because he'd never seen that. He saw his grandpa die, and from what they said, he tried to bring him back to life, right? Mm-hmm. From what they said. So he was traumatized seeing his grandpa die, and there was nothing he could do, and then he knew he was alone. And then they had told him that when we're gone, they're going to come and take you away. And he was right, because they did come and they took him from his home, all he's ever known. So then to be out there, be threatened, and have a gun in his face, and be threatened that he was going to kill him, and feel the hostility coming from this kid that's threatening to kill him. And the other kid yelling, stop, stop, stop. So of all the hate, flying around, and he supposedly can feel and absorb people's anger and everything. And then to see this deer laying there dying and feel its death, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And then for Sam, so he's so upset that he grabs him and wants him to feel what the deer's going through. I wish they'd done more with that. That was one of the things that I didn't like, was the fact that he didn't learn anything. He's afraid to use a gun now, and he blames the kid because he saw what it was like, or he felt what it was like to die and not understand why you're dying. Because see, the deer, he felt it through a deer's life, not a human life. He didn't look at it the same way as what a human would if he was dying, because a human would understand, I got shot, now I'm dying. A deer's dying and he's suffering, but he doesn't know why. He doesn't, so he had that. I don't know. I'm trying to explain it the best I can, but to me, that character arc was a bad one for this movie. It brought it down for me, because you had a character that went through a very traumatic experience. So traumatic that he took every weapon out of his house, right? Because he said, and then he explains on his porch that he can't look through a barrel of a gun and know he's going to take the life of something, because he can't get past that. But then he turns around and he's a total dickhead, 2 scenes later, to this kid over, over trivial, stupid shit. See, to me, that was so stupid.
I really like that. This sounds kind of hateful, but I don't like him in this movie. Duncan is a poorly written sheriff's deputy, and I'm not a big fan of that character in this film. They could have just spent the time on something else, and I would have enjoyed the movie much more. I didn't need to see the deer. I don't give a shit about the deer. Like I said, I'm from Illinois, and I've hit more than 10 deer in my life. And those stupid furry pieces of shit have raised my insurance rate so much. I moved out of the state. It's one of the main reasons I moved down to Texas. Because down here,
I think everyone in the South, every person in the South has hit a deer or knows someone who's hit a deer, because they're everywhere. There's thousands of them. So I can understand what you're saying.
If you have a state mandate that says if you want to shoot a deer, you have to come get a permit from us. Fuck you. Seriously, Illinois. Eat a dick. Like, if I had property and I saw Bambi out there, I'm going to totally do this. Yeah. First off, we're going to put this in the woods. We're going to have it hidden by the hills. I don't want any drones nearby, but I sure as shit want to have a deer feeder, and I want to be able to have motion sensors or trail cams out there, so I can go out there. Bambi's around. I'm going to kill him. I want to have 5 or 6 dead deer in my freezer. That's how I would want to do it if I had the ability, because I hate deer. I don't even like eating deer. Deer is like a third.
You don't like venison?
It's a third tier meat. It's
I think it's so good. I wish I could get more of it. It's delicious. I mean, especially when you get some really good recipes from a lot of your hunter friends.
Yeah,
it's good. Deer chili is delicious.
But I hate deer. So whenever they're like trying to show like the deer's going through pain, I'm like, die, Bambi, die. And I didn't say that during last night's viewing, but boy, I
thank goodness. I'm glad you didn't.
I muted the shit out of my mic.
Yeah.
And Michigan's like, am I a joke to you? Hey, Tommy, how you doing?
Oh, hi, Tommy.
The toe nibblers.
Hi, Mage.
Mage's Musings here. Hey, Sean, how you doing, sir? Awesome one.
I'm sorry, I wasn't reading a lot of the chat. I've been too busy
but
talking my head off.
I like this movie in parts. Like, Victor Salva is not my director of choice for this movie. I think this would have been handled a lot better and a lot classier, but people would have said that this is just Edward Scissorhands Part 2 for
See, I didn't get that vibe at all. I didn't get anything at all from Edward Scissorhands.
Yeah, I agree with you, Jerry. I'm not a big fan of deer meat. I have to spice the hell out of it for me to palate
it. I love it. It's good stuff. I can eat it. I can eat it every week.
That's great. I like pigs. Pigs are wonderful and they're delicious, and they require.
Wait, do you like wild boar? It doesn't taste the same as regular ham.
Completely different. The muscles get to work, and you have a chance of, like what I did. If you ever go down to Kingsville, Texas, and go hog dogging. I did this back in
I've
2013.
never gotten to do that.
Um, Going to hog dogging is different. You have to take a few dogs with you, but the dogs are trained, or they have instinctual. They're good. Like a killer whale doesn't really need to like go to school to learn how to be a better killer whale. He just kind of comes out and he's a killer whale. You grab certain dogs, and certain dogs are just fantastic at it, and they
Yeah.
grab a hold. Yeah, ghost peppers will improve deer meat. Anything improves deer meat.
Hmm.
They grab it by the ear and they'll drag it down. And I was told we didn't take guns after this, but here we are playing with these 125, 150-pound sows in the wild, and like all of a sudden, like I've got this pig in front of me, and it's getting ready to charge me. I've evaded it so far, but then this 75-pound pit bull breed comes and grabs it by the ear and drags its head. And after I get done literally pooping myself, which not a fun, it happens. Like some people, like there's things in action movies you don't find out about until you're in service. Like some people, whenever they like get in combat, like they that happens. It just you deal with it. So I realized, like, after I got done with like maybe the 30th or 40th insertion of the knife on this pig, and the pig is finally stopping its movement, the dog is like growling, looking at me, wondering if I'm crazy or not. And I'm like, okay. And the pig has stopped moving for the most part, and I've stopped pooping myself. I'm like I wish I could like that. I wish I was a more quote unquote manly man that didn't do that, but like I about got charged by a thing with like huge razor like tusks, and I got could have been eviscerated. Instead, this dog saved my life. So like the rest of the time we were hanging out with Bo, not Bo Paints Minis, but a friend of mine named Bo out in South Texas. I was making sure that dog was well fed. Like I love that dog.
You're throwing him some snacks,
Oh my
thanking him for saving your ass.
I took all the ears off the pigs. We killed 3 pigs that day, and I got 5 ears, and the 6th ear was already in the dog's belly by the time I'd gotten myself cleaned up and we're starting to do things. And Bo's like, "Are you okay?" I'm like, "Yeah, never done that before." And he's like, "Yeah, it's all right, normal." I'm like, "Cool." So
see, I can't eat that real spicy stuff. I mean, it tears me up.
You have to
One nibble, and I have to drink a whole bottle of Pepto.
Sorry about ignoring. I didn't mean to ignore chat, but Cherry's like, I'm a chicken man. Soybase is like, I'm a venison jerky guy. Shaker container of ghost peppers. I love ghost peppers. They're great.
Not me. I won't eat it.
I hate deer. No Deer's not my thing.
It's not for everybody. It's like me. There's some things I won't like. But the thing is, I love venison. I think venison's good. But I don't like lamb. I don't like lamb.
But I think I got why they wanted to have this scene where the innocent boy who had never seen death before, he tried.
Well, they were trying to show you how the scene later on where he's talking about how humans are horrible and mean and full of hate, and they only do bad things. They don't do anything good. They're all evil. That was leading up to when he got to have his first kiss and get to find out what it's like, what life could be like to actually live as a man, and get to meet a woman and fall in love and find out what compassion is, and things like that. The things that he hadn't experienced because he wasn't cuddled. He wasn't held by his grandparents. His dad didn't want him. I mean, everything. He's had rejection his whole life. So basically, they're trying to cram all this information into small scenes. And one of the scenes, what was it? I was trying to remember. Damn it, I can't remember anything. I'm so bad. But trying to show you him evolving and into a higher being than us, because he didn't let himself stoop down to kill, and do bad things because he was angry and used his jealousy or anger. Like, even though he saw that, like I was talking about, he saw that handsome young man in the bathroom, and knowing he will never have hair like that, he will never have beautiful skin like that. Even though, his skin, I didn't think was ugly. I mean, I didn't think it was ugly at all, but he thought it was. He thought, because of what he looked like, since he'd never met another person like him, that he was never going to be accepted. But all the people around him, the teachers, the sheriff, the woman who was dying that said she thought he was an angel because he was sitting there by her, about to take her, across the finish line when she was dying, basically. And he even said that, he said that she thinks I'm an angel. And that right there should have told him that he's accepted, that they're accepting him for who he is, and they don't expect him to be anything different. That if he just took enough time, and there people would accept him for what he was, except that he didn't want the time. He didn't want to take the time to find that out, or how long it would take. Once he was rejected and knew that he would not be able to have a relationship because the parent or the father of the young girls or teenage girls would not accept him because of what he looked like. He's a freak. I don't want you near my daughter, you freak. That type of stuff. So, and to me, that was perfectly normal. That would be a normal reaction for any dad. It wouldn't matter if he was a good looking hunk football player. When you walk up and you see your daughter kissing a guy in the middle of public, that just wasn't something that a dad normally would accept with his teenage daughter. So it wouldn't have mattered. But see, the young boy, Powder, or the young teenage boy, wouldn't know that because he's never experienced anything like that before. So he just accepted that it was because he was ugly and he would never be accepted. That's how I saw
it. I think when we're a young person, we think we're ugly, and you'll have to have like something really shake you up for you to like come out of your ugly duckling outfit and just be like, you know what? If I treat myself right, if I eat right, if I try to exercise, I can be attractive. If nothing else, I'll feel better for being exercised. And no matter what I do,
healthier.
It'll be a benefit for me. And I think once a lot of people start doing that, that's where you start seeing like what we have had since the 70s. We've got this, Jim Bro culture, which is great. And, I don't know if Powder would have ever wanted to do that. This movie, it commits a lot of crimes. And one of the crimes this movie commits is it's the length of this movie. It's far too long for it to be an enjoyable movie for me. It's not. It's a good movie. It qualifies under something. As a young man, I would have really enjoyed this film, but on rewatch, it would have probably fallen like The Cowboy Way. But I'm not trying to insult anybody that still likes this movie. I think it's great. I think it's great you do. But I just watched it last night for the first time as a 48-year-old person, and I was trying to think of myself as a 20-year-old when it came out. How would I feel? And I think this movie has some small successes in it. This is going to make it sound like I just won a movie with Lance Hendrickson to read the phone book, but he played a really good sheriff. And his wife, I believed him and her loved each other. And whenever they were on scene together and she's ready to start feeding all the information through Powder, I thought that was a really good scene. I thought that scene was so good. Like, that for me was the entire film. And I know that
wasn't for me.
That sounds bad, but and previous prejudices aside, for Bambi, the deer scene did nothing for me because the character that was played by the deputy was poorly written. I've seen that guy act before. He's acted better. And there's a lot of other characters in this movie that could have been expanded upon. Do I think the young redheaded girl, the real cute kind of big cheek girl, I think she would have, like, I don't think she liked him. I think, and boy, I just turned a 20-year-old man again. I think she appreciated him, but
I think she was intrigued by him.
intrigued, but I don't think I think we would need a whole nother movie directed by Tim Burton
But she was
to.
infatuated.
Yeah, infatuated is one thing.
Mhm.
I've seen what infatuation does with people. It gets them pregnant, and
Well, the thing is to me, she thought he was unique and different, and she wanted to know more about him. But that didn't mean she was in love with him and wanted to
correct.
have a baby with him or anything like that. And I didn't get that from that. The
I
fact that they kissed was because of the moment when they were doing the fingers.
Yes,
Okay. So she got to see his sadness. She got to feel his emotions. And how do you get a girl? You show her you have feelings. Okay, you show her. Okay,
this
I'm saying it from the girl side. Okay, you gotta listen for a minute.
this
But a girl, once she feels that a guy can be level with her when it comes to feelings and can understand when she's explaining to him, you know, you know, when you said that about my dress or whatever, it hurt my feelings. And he tells you, I'm really sorry. I didn't realize how much you really love that outfit. I just, my aunt had that dress or that skirt or that pair of pants, and I just thought it looked horrible. So when I saw you wearing it, it just immediately made me think of my aunt. So you're trying to come up with something to cover up for hurting her feelings. And she understands that you probably just made that up, but the fact that you did shows compassion and that you're willing to make me feel better. You know what I mean? Using your feelings, that you cared. So that brings a girl in for some reason. I don't know why. Maybe it's just the way God made us. We're all feelings, a touchy feely, and guys are all brawn and macho and just want to walk around and be manly. I don't know why God made us this way, but that's how we are. And we can't help what we think is attractive. It doesn't, we don't mean for it to be that way. We don't mean to be annoying, but that's who we are. And we just have to accept that, we're different. And that's what makes us attracted to each other, is the fact that we do have different things that are what we want or what do we enjoy in life. That's it, but what to me was sad about a scene that was totally just, thrown out, that could have been really cool or added more depth to this movie, was the whole thing about his IQ test.
yeah
This guy was like highest ever on a test. No one in the world that they know of has even scored this high, and they blow it off like it's no big deal when he leaves the room. So it's like, that was stupid. That was just that was terrible. I thought that took a big hit on the script for me. The fact, now I don't know if the script even had more about it, but the fact that the director just let it in that way, to me, showed he had tunnel vision. He was trying to rush to the end when he's turns into energy. He turns into pure energy. He disappears. He goes into the atmosphere or whatever it was. That's one of the reasons why I felt like we were being railroaded through, because of the vision of the director, instead of expanding on all the great juicy details of the character arcs for all these people. He just pretended like they didn't exist anymore. It was like, oh, well, no one needs to know any more about it. That pissed me off as a viewer. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He shows us all this giant smorgasbord buffet, and then he rushes you by and doesn't let you have the steak. You know what I mean? He gives you the salad at the end or something. I don't know. To me, that pissed me off. That was one of the things that I thought was why I felt it was like he had tunnel vision to the ending. He wanted to push everyone to this because that was his glory. The director's glory was the ending of him becoming pure energy, basically. And to me, it ruined the movie because he had so much more to expand on. That's why I'm saying the part where the deputy comes back and he's a total douchebag after we felt like he redeemed himself because he realized his feelings about what it was like to die. He was fearful of death now because of it. So it changed him emotionally. And then he ends up being the same dick he always was, but now he doesn't have a gun. That was, to me, there was no character arc. He dropped him like a rock And then he, instead of bringing that back, why didn't he expand more on him having a chance? That's when the scientists came to get him, is that they wanted him at their college, you know, as a professor. They were going to give him a doctorate or something big, because this guy's huge, you know. What could everybody learn from him? But see, he just, I don't know. To me, it just fell flat after that. In
I
that scene for me.
I gotta attack this movie, and I hate to say that. I gotta verbalize this, break it up a few different ways. I like how the movie introduces us to him, and I
Mm-hmm.
think it's important that you see the mom get hit by the lightning, and then the father just basically rejects his son, and then everything happens to the grandparents. And there's not a single way for you as a woman with a vagina for you not to have your heart swell up and like, oh my God, I want to hold him because he's a crying baby. And like
Yeah,
for half
that's
of the
exactly
movie
how I felt.
audience, for half the movie audience, like
Mm-hmm.
they immediately wanted to just like never let him ever get hurt again.
Mm-hmm.
And then when we get introduced to him, he's a telepathic, he's not sociopathic, but he's naive to the point where he could harm people by
Mm-hmm.
showing them too much. And
Mm-hmm.
I think this movie is so negligent for giving us little tidbits here and there, which could have been expounded on and given us a good 20-minute set of scenes spread throughout the
Yep.
film from start to finish, where we would have had a good introduction, complication, introduction of new characters to further
Mm-hmm.
twist the knife or twist the plot, and then we have the resolution. Instead, I'm fed this like college age kid that he's a very nice man, but he's not used to people.
Mm-hmm.
And in 1995, I think there was another movie that came out where another man came out of a secluded area and he was introduced to life in the 90s. But he
Wasn't
was,
it Starman?
nope, it's Blast
Oh,
from the Past with
oh.
Alyssa
That
Silverstone.
this reminded me of Starman a little bit.
It could have
I
been.
don't know if it came out afterward or not, or before it. I don't know. I don't
Starman's
know.
1984.
Okay, so it did come
Another
out before.
1984 gem.
Mm-hmm.
You people that want to go back to 1984, I'll take you in a DeLorean. Okay, that is a quite possibly the most perfect romantic movie that John Carpenter ever did. Which it's not really a romance, but it's a movie. If you've not seen Starman, I'm going to spoil it for
But it
you.
was a romance. He was a
It's it's
science fiction romance.
it's not. It is
I know,
about
but
a
it's what it seemed like.
No, it's about a movie who the main subject is a woman, a widow, who she misses her husband. An alien comes down, takes the form of her dead husband, and allows her to not only process the grief and get closure, but he also gives her the promise and gives her a child, which I will
Mm-hmm.
say in 1985 and 86, there was a TV series, which wasn't bad. It was a very good movie, but it was a kind of weird because we just had this in theaters 2 years ago, and now Starman's child is a teenager, and Starman
Yeah.
came back in the TV series, and she's nowhere to be found. It failed, but it was a neat novel idea for a series. I love the movie Starman. That's a perfect film, but I'm comparing this movie to a couple others. Phenomenon was mentioned earlier by I think Six Nation, 31 Kings. Joe's Atmosphere absolutely loves this movie. By the way, guys, if you want to give a rating for this film, go ahead. Put your ratings, put your numbers or your A pluses, your thumbs up, whatever. Put it in the chat. I want to see it. I want to read it, or I'll have Janet read it. But this movie has some problems with it, and the director and the script are what I blame. It's not really
Mm-hmm.
the actors. It's not really people involved with a lot of the behind the scenes stuff. The movie is very well shot. The director of photography, I don't really know who that is. Let me find that real quick. The camera scenes, the actual framing of the shots
Mm-hmm.
is done really well.
Yep.
That that is fantastic. I don't like the makeup, but I'm going to forgive the makeup because back in 95, we thought that we would have cool things when we were in our 30s, 40s, and 50s, which we do. If I would have been
Yeah.
told at the age 20 you'd have an iPad and you could play pinball on
Mhm.
an emulator and play Medieval Madness or the Addams Family all night if you want on your iPad, I would have been, I can't wait for the future. And I love that. I love pinball is my thing. Sorry. So um, we didn't realize that televisions would get so clear, and small town TV stations, excuse me, they had to adopt 4K behind the curve. Big cities
Mhm.
got 4K cameras and they upgraded their makeup department immediately, because otherwise you see blemishes or you see warts or something that's not
Yeah.
so pretty on your weathercaster. Their 10-inch part's got a problem in it. They fixed that. And when you go back to your 4K collection of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, your
Mhm.
brain disconnects your asshole tendency to be like, this sucks, look at that makeup. Because you're like, I love Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Mhm.
Angel's so cool. And it works because it expects you to be like, listen, we have a budget of $7 for makeup. We can't make Spike look any cooler or more menacing. We have to work with what we have. This is a kit we bought from a makeup kit from Kmart. We bought for
But
$17.
see, you were willing to accept bad makeup on this show and
I
then not on this other one simply because you enjoyed the story and the overall stuff that was going on in the other one. So you could accept a few flaws, right, with
Yeah,
costume or makeup or whatever. See, that's what I'm trying to say is that it's sad that because the story was messed up because of the director's push to force you to the end for what he wanted you to see, his
yeah.
big ending, that it messed up the other things that could have been so much better, because I could have accepted the fact that the makeup wasn't perfect and things like that if the story had been better. You see what I mean? Isn't that
I
sad that we're like that? But but that's a fact of
I
how we
I
observe things and absorb information.
I forgive I forgive 1980s movies for their
Mm-hmm.
practical effects and for them not thinking that we would have 8K televisions. How dare they? No, fuck you. I'm going to watch Rob Bottin movies the rest of my life and enjoy them.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to watch The Thing back to back to back. I'm going to have my friends over on a Discord one of these days. We're going to watch all the Howling films in chronological order as they're supposed to
Mm-hmm.
take place, not as they're released. We're going to do that. We're going to do that one of these days because that shit's fun. There's
Yeah.
a problem with this movie here, and it's not with makeup. It's not with the
Uh-huh.
director of photography, and the cinematography is by Jerry Zielinski. The music of this film is by Jerry Goldsmith. He's a very accomplished artist. He's very
Yeah,
accomplished.
I didn't have a problem with the music at
The
all.
you know John Williams was supposed to be part of this movie, but Goldsmith got picked because of things that he had apparently done in his fresh out of college days, and
Hmm.
he's very accomplished with this. He did the music for one of my favorite movies. Uh, he did I believe he did Inner Space. Holy cow! He did
Hmm.
music for Star Trek: The Romulan Wars.
Hmm.
Oh wait, they applied his music for Star Trek: The Romulan Wars. He died in 2004. Romulan Wars was in 2015, but
Yeah,
he did Along Came a Spider, which is a fantastic kind of like a suspense movie. Morgan Freeman. He did the
yeah.
13th Warrior.
That was a really good movie. I love the 13th Warrior.
He did The Mummy in 1999 with Brandon Fraser. Brandon
Mhm.
Fraser, by the way, we have when we get into bromance month for Bruce, it's going to be Brandon Fraser. As much as I want to do
Okay.
Rob Bottin movies and just like
Mhm.
we're gonna do the best makeup effects ever for this month. No. It's going to be Rob Bottin. It's going to be Brandon Fraser because I just like his films. Blast from the Past is a perfect
Mhm.
movie. I think. Have you ever seen that movie?
Mm-mm. No.
All right, chat. You heard it here first. We're going to be watching that
I
in
haven't
Monday.
seen it.
Yeah, that's gonna be a Valentine's Day
I've only
special.
seen a couple, I think two movies maybe with Brandon Fraser in it.
You
The
have.
Mummy and some other movie. I'm trying to remember what the other one was
I
called, but
I really want to pinhead
Encino
this.
Man,
I,
was he in that?
yep,
Okay, well, that I think that's the one I saw. Those are the only two I think I've seen with him.
we have so much to
But
show
we're
you.
supposed to watch Caveman still. I
Yes.
really want to watch that too.
Have you seen that? Have you seen it before or
With
no?
Dennis Quaid, yes, I love that
Okay.
movie. It's
Okay.
a good, fun movie to watch. But yeah, what is your rating? That you think that you'd give this movie?
Before we get into that, I need to find where the scores are in here. So let's see. Nobody did
I
a.
thought I saw a couple numbers go by
I saw people
earlier.
do some good like they like the movie or great movie.
Mhm.
Um, Starman, Ted Kaczynski, Balchika Wow Wow. I wish I could bestow a little more confidence in my 1980s self. I was a timid lad, but aside from that, it was good. Dude, I'm the same way. I would like to tone down my bravado. I really would want to do that. But
Uh-huh.
I mean, whenever you deal with shit for a living and then people say things to you like, I don't know how you do your job. It gets to you. After the 40th fucking thousandth time of the year that somebody's like, how do you do what you do? Because you're there like unearthing like diapers and like pasta and other things out of the septic tank, and you're coming, you're like pulling this hose out, and you've got all this gloppy brown stuff on it and like some wipes, and people are there vomiting like 10 foot away, and you're like, what's your problem? you know and they're like,
Well, it's
can't
because
you
you got
smell
used
that?
to it. It's
Yeah, I
not
got
such
used
a
to it.
big deal to you.
Yeah, but this movie is pretty interesting. I'm just okay. First review we have from Mac Thompson. Mac's a very nice man, by the way. Very
Hmm.
educated, too. Powder was a 6 out of 5 of 10. 6.5 out of 10.
Hmm.
And then he explains, good story, but too many cheesy cliche moments. I completely agree.
Yep,
Um,
there were a lot of them.
I feel it's between a 50 to 60 out of 100. It could have been a contender.
Hmm.
Yeah, Blast from Past has Chris Walken and Sissy Spacek as the assisting actors. But it's got Brandon Fraser and Alyssa Silverstone as the two leads. And if you don't love those two as a couple by the end of the movie, you're just dead inside. You're completely unremarkable on the inside.
Hubba bubba.
Yeah, Dennis Quaid pissing ice cubes. Yeah, and Richard Mole, God bless him. He just passed. He played the hairy creature in that movie.
Hmm.
Poop, poop, poop of Earl, poop of. Okay, so now either you have a weak stomach or you don't. Kathy, hey, how you doing? What we have, for me, this movie is a 55 out of 100 for me, and I hate to rate it as I do, but there's a lot of parts of this movie that I just felt weren't for me as a 48-year-old man. They were
Hmm.
for a director that was full of himself on his own copium and hopium. He was feeling like other people wanted to know what was on his mind, and he felt he had a story to tell that I didn't need to hear all of it. I didn't need to hear. I wanted. My biggest problem is Powder himself. Powder should be like a sponge, and instead he's there reading people's thoughts and getting kind of intrusive on things, and it could have been a really good psychological movie, but instead it went a different route where it's kind of almost like a superhero origin story where the superhero at the very end just vanishes like Elijah on a flaming chariot, and I really don't need that. At this age I don't. It's not that
Yeah,
I hate this movie. It's just that I think this movie would have hit me a lot different when I was 20 versus now. I think I would have liked it a lot more. At the time, I wasn't so hateful to deer. I would have been like, "Oh my god!" And then the coach felt the pain of the deer dying, and he was confused. And then it traumatized him so much that he stopped carrying a gun on him. And I really like some things we see, but we never get follow-ups on. Like when the sheriff looks at his deputy, like, why are you not carrying your fucking gun on you? I need you to be accountable and be responsible for your fucking paycheck and job and standard of living. Carry your gun on you. But I can't. I can't look down the barrel. Well, you're a pussy and I'm firing you. And that should have been the way the movie ended. For me, I would have been very happy if that would have ended like that. And I know that
Yeah,
sounds
that's what I was expecting. I
I
was
was
expecting that.
I love Lance Hendrickson. And I've heard from people that have worked with him. I'm going to outline you, Bear. If you ever see this, thank you, Bear, for illuminating me with the knowledge that when you work with Lance Hendrickson, there's that awkward 3 seconds where you have the handshake. Hi, Lance. I've watched you in a lot of movies, I like your stuff. And then immediately when you're on set with him working, he's already in the moment and he's helping you get to where we're going to have a good take for the camera by the end of this work. And he knows how to get other actors to be actors or other people to at least pass off as actors or extras or just background objects, which some people do really well. The movie Die Hard, we watched it last night. There's so much going on in the background of that movie. There's not a part of that movie where you think this is just a set. Your brain is thinking, oh my God, this is LA, and look at them. They're all
They did a good job.
and the fucking TV studio. I was sold on the TV studio from the first time I've seen it till now. I've never thought that is not a TV studio in the 1980s because Die Hard does it right. There's not a part where you think like the director is out on a wackadoodle mind job like this guy Victor Salva, and he's wanting to tell his story or his truth or whatever it is. And I'm 2023 in the verbiage, the disgusting verbiage out of my mouth, talking about a 1995 movie that I would have probably liked in 1995, but in 2023 on a rewatch, I know I would rate it low. And I think that this movie has some very good parts of promise. I didn't like the deer scene, like I said. I loved watching the young boy help the sheriff get the answers from his wife and be the bridge so they could communicate before she passed. And even better, the congrats to the scriptwriter for giving us, and that's Victor Salva. He gave us the part where the sheriff was confronted with his son and they had a chance to be together. And Lance Hendrickson, I'm pretty certain Lance Hendrickson, once the kid was there, he just said, we don't really need to talk. We just need to cry. I need to hug my son and cry. And I'm pretty certain that's exactly what happened. Because just hearing the things I heard.
That scene, I thought they did a very good job at showing that you don't have to talk. You can just accept the past is past. And we're going to start from right now. It's over. We're never going to talk about it again. All that's under the water, under the bridge, and we're going to start from today on and finish our lives together as father and son. And that's how I saw it. And I thought that was a great way for him to accept it, because the son had already had that moment with his mom when he brought her the ring that he found, right? So he'd already went over that little hedge or fence or whatever with his mother. Now it was Dad's turn, and Dad got his because his was a little deeper than the son's. Okay, because the son was still looking up at his dad as a hero, like I was talking about earlier in the story. Is that he's looking up at his dad because it's his dad. You know, all of us want to emulate our heroes, which are at first is our parents, because they provide us life. They gave us a place to live. They taught us how to read and write. They taught us about our first love, first time we ever get hurt, things like just all the things about life, fishing, baseball, your first, baseball card collection, or any of those things. So your first time experiences are experienced with your parents, basically, or your siblings. And the fact that he didn't have a sibling, it was just his dad and his mom, the experience of them two digging through the snow together. She was trying to get him to understand that the son needed his dad, And since way back that during that time, they just kind of separated and never worked on trying to get back together, because it was both their pride wouldn't let them. You know what I mean? Both of them's pride wouldn't let them bow down to the other, basically. So the only way for them to get past that hurdle was to just sever it and stop it and start anew. And they were able to do that because the dad finally realized, he had to get past, he had to get over that. He had to get over his insecurities or whatever it was, that it wasn't worth it. It wasn't worth losing your future with your son over trivial stupidness. That, just like I said, common sense tells you, just get over it. Let's get over it and start over, and let's work from right this minute and get it to work so that we can have finished the rest of our lives and enjoy what we have left, because this is it. This is your one chance. Well, and the fact that the wife felt that she was being greeted by an angel that was going to take her to heaven, she was calm. She was ready to go to sleep and never wake up in the human world again and become whatever it was in the afterworld. And the fact that Powder got to be there with her and fulfill that for her and for her husband, I just thought that was a endearing part of the movie. And see, I didn't see the part of Powder being a waste. The fact that what ruined it for me was the fact that it was rushed. We didn't get to see him envelop the life that he was given once he was freed from his basement, basically, because it was rushed past. Everything was rushed past. The scene with the girl was a good scene, but I would like to have seen a little bit more, like when he put his hand in the ground and the lizards came out and the other animals weren't afraid of him. They came right to him because he was a part of nature, basically. He had a connection with the earth, and I just thought that was really good. I wish they could have expanded on those type of things a little more, and expanded on the other character arcs that I think they lost, like the whole thing with the IQ people, just different things that they put so much emphasis on it about his genius because he read every book and he memorized every single word in every story, right? And then when Jeff Goldblum's character is talking to him about, you read all those stories, but yet why do you think that they all had human qualities? They were all flawed. He was trying to get him to realize that he was a human, that he was a person just like the rest of them, but because of his life and the way he lived his life, he didn't see what being human was. He never got to experience being a human. And that's basically what Jeff Goldblum was trying to get across to him, but he was still a child. You got to realize this was a teenager that never experienced life. He only had this small little, it's like taking a kid and putting him in a snow globe, okay, and shaking it once in a while, and him getting to see the awe of the stories or whatever that were flowing around him. But that was it. That was his whole life, right? So him having someone bust the globe and let him free and let him go out, but he didn't get to experience very much because he was bullied. People were chasing him. People wouldn't let him expand. Okay, and basically that's what I thought was going to happen at the end. I thought the IQ people from wherever they came from, the big giant universities or whatever, were going to get together and say, hey, we've got a genius here we've never had anything like this. This person could teach us so much about the space-time continuum or whatever you want to put in there, because he was that was him. And all that was just wasted and pushed out, because the director wanted to see this ending. And that was it. And everything else was like squashed down, and it didn't develop because the director didn't want you to see that. All he wanted was to get you to the end and his vision of him becoming pure energy, basically. And to me, that hurt the movie really bad. It took all the human qualities that you thought he was pushing, because he was trying to show you how you should be more compassionate and how you should love your neighbor and accept people whether they're perfect or not. That type of story that I thought he was trying to push, he ended up just pounding it in and then showing you an explosion at the end of him becoming energy. And it meant it didn't have the same purpose and meaning at the end because he rushed you to the ending. You know what I mean? So to me, that's what hurt the movie the most. It wasn't so much the actors, because the actors I thought did a good job for what little amount of story they had. And I thought the visuals were really good. The fight scene, like with the water, mud puddle and stuff, I thought was really good. A few things like that, but nothing was elaborated enough. I mean, they went through all the trouble to make all these scenes, but they rushed through all of them to where you didn't get this full effect of it like you should have. I felt it was just rushed because the director was pushing you through so quickly that it was like taking you to a haunted house, but dragging you by the hand through the whole thing. So you're missing almost the whole thing. So all the work all the detail that was put into the haunted house, you missed all of it because you were rushed through. So you missed it. It's like going through a museum and just saying, oh, here's the beginning and here's okay, thank you for coming. You see what I mean? That's how I felt. I felt like this movie was really bad.
At the very
So
end,
to
you
me,
got Victor Salva.
to me, I would give it a 6, simply for the fact, and the 6 is all for the actors. That's who deserves it. All the people that worked hard on this movie to try to give you a story that the director took from them. That's what, and to me, it's all the bad points all go to the director, simply for the fact that he had tunnel vision and all he could see was getting you to the end. He didn't let you enjoy what could have been a great story of this man, of this young man, his adventure of finally getting to find out what it was like to be a human, and to get to envelop what was the wonders of the world around him. Everything he'd read in all those books, he didn't even get to express or get to experience in his short life because he was rushed to the end. You know what I mean? And to me, that was a sad way to end a movie because you didn't get to experience any of it. Even neither did we. We didn't even get to experience watching it because the director took all that from us. Yeah. He rushed us all through it to where we didn't get to experience and feel what I felt we should have been able to feel from where the story was supposed to go. And it was all taken from us because he dragged us through it. I don't know. That's my view.
I wanted to see like 20 minutes with the school resolutions and the school board dealing with this strange visitor. And, like you scored, in the highest ever. And Jeff Goldblum in 1995, he hadn't completely nerded out yet and convinced us that he is the nerd that will save us in Independence Day. No, he was 1 year away from it, but he's playing a science teacher, and he could, like, a little bit of a discussion with the director and the set choreographer. He's like, I'm a nerd, so I want to give me 3 minutes with this guy, and let's talk about what talents he has and what we expect out of him. And we were shorted throughout this entire movie. You're right. I mean, that's why I gave it a 55 out of 100. I do not change my score on that. I think that this movie could have done some really fun things. I don't need the romance thing to happen as much as I do want to see Powder.
Well, see, to me, he was too young. They were both too young for that.
Very naive.
But that was his first kiss. Okay. So it was everyone remembers their first kiss. I don't care who you are. You're going to remember the first person you ever kissed and how you felt when you did that. The butterflies in your stomach and your palms sweating, and all those different little things, because it's a traumatic yet wonderful point in your life to get to feel the emotions and the flutter of your heart pounding and the thought of what could be, when you get your first kiss. And I thought that was an important scene. But and then the way it ended in tragedy, when the father's like, "Get away from my daughter, you freak," that to me wasn't just because, just like I said, just because he was an albino, that had nothing to do with it. Any father that walked in or saw and turned and saw his daughter in a passionate embrace in public in front of everyone at a big fair picnic type thing, it wouldn't matter if he was the football king or whatever. Your dad is going to protect your daughter. That's just what you would do. And the fact that that happened to Powder was sad and made us all feel sympathy for him, but you still had sympathy for the dad too, if you were a parent. Depending on your stage in life, when you saw this part in this movie, with how you'd react to what happened to Powder, you see? Because I felt sorry. I cried at the very beginning. I was already crying when I heard him crying in his crib. So I had sympathy for the kid right off the bat, but I still understood the father having the right to be upset that he's catching his daughter in a passionate embrace. And I don't fault the father for that at all. So to me, that wasn't a bad part of the script. That should be in there if he's a good father and loves his daughter. See, that was an acceptable scene for me.
The reason why I say I don't accept it is that it doesn't really have a follow-up or resolution to it. It seems like all it does, it just furthers the thing where, like, oh, poor me. Like,
well, dude, yeah, but just like I said, nothing got followed up on. The IQ test didn't get followed up on. The fact that he was a genius and he could move things with his mind. He could read your mind. He could use magnetism. He could do all these things, but none of it was followed through. That was because the director had tunnel vision and he was shoving you to the ending. You see, he didn't let anyone have a character arc. The director ruined this movie. Wherever it was supposed to go, I would like to see the original script, because I really don't believe that it was written that way. I really don't. I just don't see the premise of why a person would take the time to have this much love for a character and write such bad arcs for all of it and for the kid. It just didn't make any sense. And why would someone write a script like that and have a whole production company want to make a movie that had no arcs? Do you see what I'm saying?
I see exactly.
That's why I'm saying, when you watch the scene with the dad and the daughter and his first kiss, or her first, it could be her first kiss. We don't know for sure. But when you see that scene, you're not thinking that there isn't going to be more. You see, you're enveloping that, and you're not, because he's protecting his daughter, right?
No, I
so you think there's going to be more, but there isn't, because the director sucked. I mean,
you're right.
It all falls on him.
God, this director just, like, there's so many parts where he could have just let it play out. Just let
it flow. A natural flow.
And even if, like, I'm willing to bet I don't want to see the script. I don't, because the director and the writer are the same person. So I'm feeling that this guy is an egomaniac and he feels he does no wrong. So I don't give a shit. I would rather have all of these talented people, Mary Steenburgen, Jeff Goldblum, Lance Henriksen, even the young man that plays the main character, Powder. He has considerable talent in this movie, and they could have made a really good film just based off the first act alone. Just let the characters do their natural arcs. If you suck so much as a writer that you won't let the fucking resolutions naturally play out, but instead I've got to be rushed on the 93-minute movie, and that's the problem. That's like the main fucking problem with this film. And I don't want to repeat everything you say on this, but
no, but it's the fact. I mean, common sense tells us that this could have been good. It could have been a really good, heartwarming movie, dramatic movie, but we didn't get the chance to do it because we were dragged through it. We were dragged to the end. We weren't allowed to enjoy any of it. We weren't allowed to try to have feelings for any of the characters or anything, because no one was allowed an arc to finish anything. The only person in this movie that had any closure was the sheriff. That's it.
Yeah.
No one
And
else in this movie got any closure or any arc. That was it.
and that's probably why that from the get-go, from the start of this almost 2 hours ago, I
Mhm.
have been like Lance Hendrickson and Sean Patrick Flanery and the
Yep,
wife, who I forget what her name is. I'm sorry, but
that's
there
okay.
is a the scene with them that should have just been a short movie. That
Hmm.
should have just been a short movie, 8 minutes. Here you go. Here's an idea. Let me have money for this, but we never get them to money. So we just have 8 minutes of those three on screen together, and they're just doing that scene. You're shoved into that scene naked with no idea who they are, and then you have no idea what Powder is, because Powder's a goddamn blank slate throughout the
Hmm.
entire
Yeah.
film. He's
Yep.
boring. No
Because
offense.
you couldn't find out anything. You were not allowed to see anything. You see, because you were dragged through the museum. You saw specks of displays as you were dragged down the middle of the aisle, and you saw a statue and you saw a painting, pieces of things, and that was it. And then all of a sudden it's over. That's what I'm saying. You were dragged and pushed and shoved through a movie and not allowed to see what the movie was supposed to be about. That's what I don't understand. I've never seen that happen in a movie before. I've never seen uh, a production company put money out for all of this. That's why I'm saying I would like to see the script. I really would, because the script that he submitted to get the money and the actors and the sets and all the things paid for couldn't have been the story that we saw, that we were rushed through, because there was no way a production company would pay for that. I just don't see that they would. There had to be more in that story. And he, because of whatever was going on in his life with whatever stuff he did before, like we were talking about before, caused him to say, we got to hurry up and get this over with. And he rushed them through it to get it done, because he was worried they were going to pull the rug out from under him or something. There had to be a reason for it. But it was a selfish reason from what I could tell, because he was only worried about himself and not worried about all the people that were working on this film that had a direction. And why would Mary Steenburgen and these other good actors take a story, take a script and read it and say, oh, this is fine. I don't care if I ever reach my climax. You see what I mean? They wouldn't. That's why I'm saying I know there has to be more to it, because there's no way these good actors would want to be in a movie that had no arcs. It just doesn't make any sense. That's why I feel like the director rushed everybody through it, because he was trying to hurry and get it over with before they took it from him, because they knew that when they found out about him, they were going to take it from him or something. I don't know. All I know is it was rushed. We were pushed through it, didn't get to see the movie that we should have been able to see. That's what I'm saying. That's how I envisioned it. And then if you hadn't seen the movie, you wouldn't understand what I'm saying, but you guys saw it. And if you think about it for a little bit, I think you'll understand what I'm saying, that somehow I just don't see why a person, when you read a book and you're reading the premise of a book, you're like, man, I want to read this book because it sounds really good. Why would anyone want to be in a movie once they got the script? Because most actors are handed a script and they read it, right? They read the script, so they know what their part is, what their character is going to be doing. And if I read a story that someone gave me and I'm doing this, that, and the other, and then nothing happens, why would I want to be in it? I wouldn't. I would say, it's okay, but nah, you can find someone else. Unless they've got paid really, really big bucks. You know, you don't want to put something on your notch on your belt when it sucks. You know, why do you think that Nicolas Cage is where he's at right now? Because he's taking all this shit and it's hurting his career. But most actors don't want to take a shitty movie because it hurts you in the future of getting better movies. That's why I don't believe that any of them would have took a part. Now the young actor that played Powder and some of the younger guys that were in it might have taken it because they were new and they just wanted to get into the business. But the other well-established actors, I just don't see them taking a part in a movie that has no art. I mean, I just don't see them wanting to sign up for something like that. Do you think they would on purpose?
I just, the more I think about it, the more like we've reviewed some stinker movies lately. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm sorry.
We have. But when we saw them as young adults, we didn't envision it the same way now that we're watching it to break it apart and talk about it. Totally different. It changes everything about a movie. Especially if it was already a stinker. We just didn't notice it was a stinker because we were young and wow, whatever. But does that make sense though, what I was saying about when you hand someone a script, why would a person take a script and want to be a part of that, a major part of a movie, when there was nothing at the end? There's no climax. You see what I mean? This just doesn't make any sense.
There's not a climax at all.
Three big actors taken apart with, well, the one actor that played the sheriff, he got what he wanted out of it. He did a great character arc. It was a very moving part for him for this movie. But the other two, they basically got that. They got the shaft. So I don't see why you would want to take a shaft part. This doesn't make any sense. That's why I think the script that they ended up getting wasn't what we saw on this movie.
Yeah,
I really don't think so.
I think this movie completely just like this movie, the more I talk about it, like I want to drag it down to a 45.
Yeah, it's a bad. It was done bad.
It's a 40 out of 100. The more I think about it, the angrier I get because, like,
yeah, because I think it's wrong.
You have a bunch of money. Mm-hmm. You have a large sum of money, like 10 million, which they got, and they tripled the money on the box office. Not including DVD sales. There was a big
push for this was sales on this years ago. Yeah,
1995. It was on VHS DVD. It was in that transition period. 1997 is where I think DVDs outsold VHS. But I really got to say that, like, this movie tripled its fucking budget at the box office. Mm-hmm. You know how Disney would kill for that right now? I mean, granted, Disney.
Yeah, they'd be happy to get that.
and man, Nerdy Ogre out of the park. This right here, sir. Mm-hmm. For those 4 actors, the paycheck was probably a motivating factor for this.
If it was a shit part, okay, which it could be, because you got to remember Jeff Goldblum was in Earth Girls Are Easy, okay. He knew where that was going, but I think he took that part because he liked Gina Davis. That's why I think, and he was probably got paid pretty good. But
that's the movie that got them together, and that's the one that was. I think she said that was probably the most enjoyable part of her life. Was when she was with Jeff Goldblum. She did Earth Girls Are Easy, then she did The Fly, and then she got some crap in her head, and she went with Remy Harlan, which he's a thief. But yeah, I'm not gonna diss on Remy too much because, like, he got saddled with a raw deal. Not Gina Davis, you bastard, but you did get screwed out of what could have been a good legacy for a good pirate movie, and it is a very fine pirate movie. It's not the best pirate movie, but it's a very fine pirate.
But it was way better than I thought it was ever going to be, because I heard it was the worst movie ever, of all time. And it's in the Guinness Book of World Records for the biggest bomb at the box office. So who would think it would be good, right?
You know what? That's bullshit, because it's not the biggest bomb.
It isn't.
No, it's
see,
not
that's
anymore.
What's sad.
Not anymore. It's Indiana Jones 5 in the Dial of Dysentery.
Yeah, now it is. But I mean, that was the history that we got to read because we decided to review it. So we found out about that. And see, we're finding out that things that we thought about something were not the same, weren't true.
I used to
And I
love.
really believe that this movie, after watching it, reading and researching it, after we all watched it, and I'd seen it before, a couple times before, and I cried every time, and I cried last night, bawled my eyes out the same way because emotionally I could feel for this character. I wish I could have felt more for this character. Now that I understand what happened, when I listened to you guys last night and you talked about what the director had been convicted of and all that, it pissed me off. Okay. It pissed me off, not at you guys, but it pissed me off because remember what I said before I even knew about any of this guy, about any of this stuff about him, because I didn't research any of that beforehand. I felt that he had tunnel vision. And that's what I said when I saw it. I said, the more I saw, each time I saw it, the more I was like, why is he pushing you to the ending? Why is it, cutting off so much good stuff that could have been good and made even 2 or 3 minutes added to this, that, and the other would have made the movie so much better. But this guy ruined this movie because he was forcing all of us to the ending, because he was trying to get you through this as fast as he could, because he knew they were going to pull the rug out from under him. See, we didn't know that. And I don't think half the people watching or making this movie knew that he knew he was about to have the rug pulled out. That's why he rushed them all through it. And it hurt all of these people. See, his selfish need for himself to be able to be the director and the only director and not having it taken from him and given to someone else to get the glory of it. He ruined it for everyone. See, and I hate that stuff. I absolutely hate people that do that to other people. And that's what they did to the people in Cutthroat Island when all those shenanigans that were going on with the money hurt all the other people, even though it was a great movie. See, and to me, it's sad to me that somebody could have that much power over so many other people's lives and take something from them that they worked so hard for. I just hate that. I hate it when the people can do that.
I gotta say something kind of funny here.
Go ahead.
Six Nations says something very nice and poignant. Michael Caine was the best part of Jaws 4. And our friend Mage's Musings, very good channel, by the way. If you like it whenever you have a single creator and he has multiple points of view to get across, I prefer people that do puppet shows. And I know that sounds kind of weird, but follow me here. If you just do it as yourself and then you try to alter the perception of the viewer by giving an alternate opinion, but you don't change your inflection, or you don't change your voice, or you don't make a different appearance on the stream or on the video, whatever medium you're doing your audience a disservice.
Mm-hmm.
People who use puppets are fucking great. Because and I'm gonna just do a little fellatio here for Mage's Musings, for Snow Dub Music and Entertainment, for Punk Waddle, for all those people that use puppets in their streams. I fucking love you guys, because you guys can do a lot of different things with just some simple props, and you get your point across as you will alter your inflections and do different voices. I think it's great. And this guy here, Mage's Musings, says, tell that to Michael Caine. As he said, I never saw Jaws 4, but I did see the mansion that it bought, and it is splendid. And I think that's great, because Michael Caine is a great actor, and it's sad that he's retired from acting, but he is also 90 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And less than
well,
10
he deserves retirement.
Yeah, he deserves it. And he also did a movie in his 80s called, I think it's Harry Brown, which is kind of like a Death Wish for UK people. Like Death Wish 3 was filmed in the UK. I know we've talked about this movie here and there. We'll do a Death Wish 3, I promise you. Not right now, though, because if you look on our upcoming streams, I added in February 2 movies, which I feel are very important. First of one being Blast from the Past from 1999. I made a mistake on the year. Sorry about that. Brandon Fraser, Alicia Silverstone. And then I added, for the final Monday of February 2024, is going to be Romeo and Juliet with Olivia Hussey and Leonard Whiting, which looks like a really good film. Thank you, Six Nations, 31 Kings, for that. She is a babe. Okay. those people that do these puppet shows are fantastic because they can provide a lot of different context with the different voices. And I think that's really important, especially when you're trying to get different views across. You're not just trying to do an op-ed piece in front of your computer with all your kids screaming behind you or your dog in your arms, whatever it may be. The puppets allow you variance, and that's very important. It's very important to have that. More people should do that. Thank you, Mage's Musings, for allowing us to have such good content from you. You're one of the creators that I look forward to watching his detailed, and they're not quote unquote super detailed. He does like a 10 or 15-minute video with his puppets, and they do a lot of good stuff. But I'm going to put his link in the chat here. If you guys could just do me a favor and subscribe to him, because he's funny. And I know that's like Bruce, you said funny before. I hate hearing myself talk sometimes too, but Mage's Musings is fantastic. Check him out. All right, copy and back to StreamYard. Paste, and there we go. Thank you, sir. But he brought up the Michael Caine part because he didn't want to be typecast, and so he did Jaws 4. There's other people that have done various roles to get out of being typecast. Jeff Goldblum, I don't think has ever stopped being a nerd. He likes being a nerd
because he really is a nerd.
I don't know.
That?
I think
he is.
Personally, I've never seen him build a computer like Henry Cavill. I've never seen him paint miniatures like Peter Cushing.
I can't build a computer, but I'm a nerd.
Yeah, I see you do that because you have shorts and you have, and I say shorts as in YouTube shorts. And if you're not subscribed to Janet from Home,
but what I mean is, you can love nerddom, you know, comic books or figurines or, you know, science, you know, like having chemistry set and do all those things and have those type of nerd qualities. It doesn't mean you have to be able to do other things that other nerds might do. So there's different types of nerds. And I really think that Jeff Goldblum's into that type of thing. I don't know. I'd like to find out.
I would like to know what he knows. I want to know what he does. All I know is that he's an actor and he likes being a nerd on screen. I want to know if he does Sheldon style things from.
You know how he does that nervous thing with his hands? He's like, he's got like a nervous tick or something when he's acting and he's doing his hands and he's just very aggressive, you know, like moving around almost like he's got like he's in the spectrum, you know, that type of thing. To me, and he's very, very intelligent. I mean, just the way he talks about things, like when he was in what was it, the one about the aliens about to blow up the earth, Independence Day. When he was in that with his dad, him and that one actor that played his father. I thought what was it?
Judd Hirsch.
Yes. See that they played so good off each other, but to me that right there told me he was a nerd. just the whole everything he did in that movie, he's a nerd. I would bet money on it. I would love to find out more about him, but I really think he is a huge nerd.
I don't know. I would like to know more about him. I think he's great, and I've got to say that The Fly Part 2 completely sucked, and I would say it's because of a lack of Goldblum.
I haven't seen that one, so I'm not worried about it.
We're not going to watch that one.
Good.
As much as I like the leads in that movie, I despise that movie. I saw that movie like 6 months after it was in theaters, and they already had it on Channel 43 out of Bloomington, Illinois. In midday, I had taken the day off from school because I just didn't want to go. I'm like, oh, I'm sick. And then the principal calls me like, we didn't get a note from you or a phone call. I'm like, yeah, I'm just not feeling it. I'm not feeling well today. She's like, well, you need to call. And I'm like, we're talking now, right? She's like, yeah. I said, I'm 18. Can I tell you that I'm on the toilet as we speak? And I flushed the toilet, and she's like, you could be just doing that. I said, no. Hold on. Let me have the toilet clear. Give me 2 minutes and I'll explode again. And I'm just not feeling it today. And she's like, no, Bruce, I believe you. Okay, thanks. And then the next day I went in to school and I had my Pepto-Bismol, and I wasn't feeling well, but I just really was not feeling well. And I stayed home that day, and I happened to see The Fly Part 2. and that movie is marginally they're about the same.
Mhm.
There's some potential in the movie, but it's not realized, and that's the problem with this film here. I don't mean to drag out the stream any further. I love you guys for being here. I
Yeah, we
really
appreciate it.
do. The price. I like the movie from
We
Price.
always appreciate you guys
Yeah,
because without you guys, we don't have a show.
I mean,
So,
me and Janet would talk anyway, but
yeah, we
it's
do
more
anyways.
it's more enjoyable that you guys give us a focus, like, and you also throw things at us like, hey, Bruce, watch this movie, and Six Nations 31 Kings, appreciate you, man. You're always there with us on Sundays. Flady, if you're still here with us, sir, just throw a letter in the chat. And I know
Mhm.
Flady is doing some stuff. He's wanting to get his channel started. He's got very little time to do so, and I've taken some of his time every other Saturday, along with Six Nation 31 Kings and Crafting Gamer, and other people as well are involved with my
Well,
game.
I would help him if I thought I could help him.
Um, I if Flady, if you're out there, if you want help, Janet would be more than happy to do what she could for you, sir, and get
I'm
you.
not very good at computers, so I barely can get through some of the stuff I try to do.
She's good with communication. Communication's her strong point. Um, I really, boy, I feel this one. I'll take Army of Darkness over Phenomenon, Powder, and K-Pax at the moment. I could use some shimp shenanigans after visiting Salva's
It's like,
actions. For
prove
those
it.
for those of you who don't know what the shimps are, when they made the first Evil Dead movie, they did primary filming at this little cabin, and then everybody kind of broke and they went their separate ways. But Bruce and Sam Raimi were hanging out at the cabin, and they needed to do additional filming, so they would have other people come in and just pose as the actors, and they would have their backs turned, or they would have makeup on, or they'd be corrupted by whatever evil it was,
Mhm.
but they were supposed to be the people that you saw at the start of the movie when they were normal and untainted. And
Yeah,
so Bruce and Sam started calling all these people shimps because they're huge Three Stooges fans.
yeah.
And so whenever you see references to shimp shenanigans, talking about things like that,
Mhm.
Janet's new word of the day: shenanigangalangs. Ooh, not making it equals at all. Naja, you're more than welcome, sir, and I appreciate you being here. He did a stream with me about 3 weeks ago when I started putting the memberships out, and he was there that night. I was going to go into politics. It's like, can we not do that? I'm like, sure, we can not do that.
Mhm.
And we had a really pleasant
You don't
conversation
want
about
Bruce and
it.
politics mixed together. No, I was kidding.
Not really. It
We
gets
talk about politics on Friday night
Friday night. That's the night where
because
my
it's a shit show out there.
another fan of the movie Harry Brown, Six Nations, is like, I love that film. It is a good movie. I feel that's one of the better films that was done in the last 20 years that Michael Caine did. And I love the Chris Nolan Batman films he did. I think he's just a consummate actor. He's a professional.
Hmm.
Classic Romeo and Juliet, so long as it's not that awful Baz Luhrmann one. No, 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 no. This Romeo and Juliet is. Let me find Olivia Hussey again. Hold on. Go back. Romeo and Juliet, 1968 film adaptation. No, no, I went back to the Wikipedia about that movie. I don't need that. I need the. Oh, anyway, we're going to watch that movie from 1968 because I just realized how much of a babe she is. And wow.
Which
Never
movie?
Romeo and Juliet be the
Oh,
final Monday in February. You have two movies in February you got to set me
well,
up for.
yeah. You should have that near Valentine's Day, don't you
Uh-huh.
think?
It would be, but Blast from the Past is more important. I know how the ending is of Romeo and Juliet. I'm pretty certain everybody in the chat does, but some of them have not seen Blast from the Past or forgot about it,
Mm-hmm.
and it'll be available for them to watch the Sunday night before in our Discord, where all they've
Mm-hmm.
got to do is get in and sit down and enjoy the movie. Um, I think that's a fantastic Valentine's Day film. It's got a happy ending. No offense to Romeo and Juliet, amazing love story, great film. There's
Well,
been
as long as it's in February,
it
you
is
know.
it is it's the final February. It's like the 20 something or other.
So
And
it's killing off February
no.
with the death at the end.
There's two movies left for you to choose for February.
Okay.
So you choose those. What are we watching for next week? You have three
I
other
want to watch I'm trying to remember Nefarious. I think that's what it's called. It's
Nefarious.
one of his newer movies, but I haven't seen it. Remember,
Okay,
neither one of us has seen it, but it's
we may
John
have to
Patrick Flanery.
keep that one on standby. We might actually watch Boondock Saints while I try to get a reliable copy of that.
Okay,
Because
because we can do it in order of how he filmed them. You know what I mean?
sure,
Because we could do the Boondock Saints, and then what was the other one? Suicide Kings,
Suicide Kings would be
and
first.
then watch Nefarious like that in that order. That would be fine with me
Okay,
because that's
well,
in succession as you know. Because Powder was his first movie,
Suicide Kings is a fantastic movie,
and I
and
haven't seen that either.
uh,
But I like it, Sean Patrick Flanery. So
okay, Suicide Kings is one of my that's a great film.
mhm.
It's God, there's like there's like an edginess about it that very few films really get good with. Like I'm going to put it in the same slot as like Rounders or Reservoir Dogs because they're really good
Mhm.
90s dramas, and I
Yeah.
think Suicide Kings fits right in there. Hey Jackie Blue, how are you tonight? Subscribe can do. Thank you, Kathy. Uh,
Oh.
Mages Musings. I'm wanting you to get large, man.
Did you know who that is, right?
Who? Kathy?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's sis.
Yeah, it's another sister. Okay.
Yeah,
So if you knew that, remembered that.
yeah. Dungeon Minister is another worthy sub. Yeah, Dungeon Minister is amazing. He's a very good guy. I wish I had all 24 hours to spend in front of the computer and just do streams with people, but I have to discover toilets and like try to get them to flush again.
Well,
Fly
maybe
things-
one day, once your
Yeah,
channel gets really big, then you won't have to do that anymore. You can just do this every day.
yeah, no doubt, right? Um, before we leave, we're gonna watch the Suicide Kings for next week. So if you guys want to watch that with us, swing by the Discord channel, and
Mm-hmm.
more than happy to accommodate. Looking forward to seeing this movie again. I have the DVD behind me, and this is always a fun movie to watch because you've got Chris
Can
Walken.
you share your Discord
Yep,
in
getting ready.
the chat real quick?
Yep.
For anyone who wants to watch it with us, it's a lot of fun. I mean, we just sometimes we sit around after the movie's over and bitch and moan about it or talk about what we loved about it or whatever. Because you know it's like a free forum, so we can just all discuss things. Because it's nice to discuss because you might that's how I found out about what the director had done before he had made this movie that we watched. I didn't know anything about it. And if I hadn't been there to listen to what other people had to say, I wouldn't even have known. It's enough to even look it up and find out about it. So you never know what you can hear. And because a lot of people might have seen it or somebody might not have seen it. So it's nice. I like having it. I think it's really good to have a good group in there with a bunch of different opinions. Makes it a
Yeah,
lot more fun.
and I do want to say that if anything should happen ever on Discord to where Discord and I separate, like what YouTube and I would separate, I'll go to Rumble and I'll be there full time. And then as far as a community hub, I'd be using Gilded, which is just another thing like Discord. It'd be another download for you. I'm sorry, but Discord is okay. It's so is Gilded. Discord does not have friendly policies for people that like free speech that much. However, Gilded is still getting itself up to speed. It's behind Discord about 4 years, and I
Yeah.
really do like Gilded. I like how in Gilded the things that I want in Gilded are there behind in Discord. The things I really want are behind a paywall.
Mhm.
So that's the one thing I will say in its favor. I'll bring my busket, says Six Nations 31 Kings, and that is how we will end tonight's stream. Janet, actually, I'll end it with your final words.
Just if anybody's interested, Friday night, Bruce and I, we do the Friday Night Shit Show over on my channel at 9-10 p.m. Central. If you want to join. And we never really know for sure what the show's going to be about, because normally we talk about whatever shit's going on, the week before Friday. So any shit that hits a fan worldwide or just in our country is what we usually talk about. So it's like a free for all, basically. Since I'm not monetized, I don't really care. So we talk about what amuses us and we enjoy it. So we enjoy laughing at our government and stuff like that.
God, we do, Oprah.
So,
thank you, everyone. Sorry, go ahead.
Thank you for coming.
We'll see you next week.
Good night.